So, I'm just, wanting people to know that, um, the reason why um, I can't and you can't trust um, their police. You cannot trust Atlanta police, and that Miss Vakeen Jordan Mitchell brings against people. I know that I couldn't have been dealing with St. Louis, Missouri police when I was arrested in Denny's hospital. I mean, Denny's Florissant restaurant. It's the reason why I said hospital too. I believe they it's the same kind of police, same affiliation that tormented me and choked me at the hospital and had me in those um, beds that had cuffs on them. Um, and I'm my father. Everybody in the world knows that my father, Rico Wade, molested me from the age of 9, um, and then again when I was 14. And my mother didn't stick by me. She said that she wanted to make her marriage work, which I don't know why. Um, and the world knows, my churches everywhere know my testimony. I wrote plays about it and did plays about it, and in Texas and everywhere else, Chicago. So I'm just outdone because I get this letter saying that I have to go to court about being on private property. You cannot call a Denny's restaurant in Florissant private property. Every time they arrested me, they would say that it was private property, and don't you come back to this restaurant no more. Don't you come back to this school no more, or whatever. But, I called the police on Rico Wade because he molested me as a child, and then the family had him around my son on Christmas, and then as I stated, Karen Wade gave him the phone, and he told me on Christmas, you cannot come see your son, and so I called the police, and that's when the officer taped black lady with honey bun dreads, came in with Officer Baum, white officer, spelled Balm, and you acted like a flaming fag every time I told you that my nephews were molested, and I wanted to get help for my son, and instead of them and that's what made me want to call the chief of police. So I got the phone, Denny's phone, and I started dialing the number to call the chief of police. And that's when Officer Tate snatched the phone out of my hand, and then they basically gave me police brutality in Denny's. I was thrown around. I mean, it was horrible. Both of them just. They wrestled with me, and it took two of them, huh? And you don't put me in jail for calling the police on Rico Wade. You just that's just a weak woman's response, and I just a man too, and I just could not believe that I am sitting in jail and asked to get dressed out. I don't have to get dressed out for you. Take off your shoes. And then she called them. This is how I say how they stick by my abusers. She called them to let them know, yeah, I have her here in jail. And so that's just pathetic, as an officer. And There were monsters that my son had as caseworkers, um, in Dallas, Texas. And I'm riding around in St. Louis, and I look up in the sky, and God gives me signs and wonders. And I see the Dallas Cowboy, the football emblem, uh, with the emblem with the little Dallas Cowboy emblem of the animal, whatever, face in the sky with a big Y on it, the letter Y. And I said, oh my goodness, I said, that's why Dallas. So it let me know that Dallas police also was tied up in this with the Dallas caseworkers, because Megan Thomas was a monster, telling me, and Linda Figaro, because they were caseworkers that had my son tied up in the system for 3 years, and telling me, well, it's a chance that he can get back with his father. And I said, wait a minute. I said, his father, I left him because he is a child molester, and and he basically um, he and I had gotten a restraining order when my son was a baby. I left him, and everybody knows this. The world knows this, that I left him when he was a baby. My son wouldn't even know how he looks, and they said, well, your son had a loud outburst because we told him that he can go somewhere with his son. I said, why would you have no right to tell him that he can go somewhere with his son? And because he's not his son, and I've dated other men that were good role models for him, that weren't child molesters. They were men of God, and Titus will warn you too. My son has a prophetic anointing on his life, and he said, one guy I was dating, and Miss Mitchell know too, because I told her, I said, my son told me, Mommy, I don't think he's a man of God, and I think he may be selling drugs. He was out the door after that. I did not go back to him. I was like, women, sometimes you need to listen to your kids. You need to listen to your kids. My mother didn't listen to me growing up. I told her all the time, to leave my father, leave my father. And, even though he was abusive to you, so respect you enough. And you don't have the right to send him to him. And he raped you, Darrell, as a child. You were his son, and there was no reason for you to be getting with him. You and Melody and Horn. I say Horn because you put them in the system too. They could have helped me and got my son out of that. They say Texas is another state, huh? Or was another country to some people, and I don't know what country you come from when you tell me, an advocate for women of abused children, and men too that have been abused, that I've counseled, an advocate and a counselor for them, that I can't have my son, but it's okay for you to take him around a RICO. And they even brought him to his father. And I don't want their police. I don't want Atlanta police. I don't want these caseworkers, policemen from Dallas coming to trying to help me or my son. We in St. Louis, Missouri, for Tigers Only, and states everywhere, know that we are for this. We are women who have been abused in domestic violence situations, and there have been just too many instances where you have come to my aid when I didn't know what kind of police you was working with. So as I told Judge Mathis and other judges and lawyers and people that know about this situation, even from the play, that you cannot trust every policeman. You cannot trust every doctor. In TGK, Miami-Dade Corrections Jail, they had them, nurses coming in abusing people. I was there minding my own business in the cell, and they came in with a mask, a white mask, and you had on a spacesuit, which was ridiculous. Coming in there, looking like you from NASA, from Mars or somewhere, getting ready to fly to the moon. Well, you can with this, because I ain't gonna take down, from the play. We've done it, and so but I dramatized it, what happened to you and as a community, and it happened to me, and I'm not a criminal, but you want to put a mask on me for riding a bus, for being Rosa Parks, and Rosa Parks, huh? They came in, these ladies, with nurses in lab coats and scrubs. I'm just sitting in jail, just waiting on somebody to have sense enough to call the news. But I'm just sitting there, and they came in with masks. The other ladies had on like spacesuits, and they handcuffed me to a chair, and they put a mask over my face, over my head, and was choking me with the mask while I was still in restraints, with the while I was handcuffed to the chair. And it was uncalled for. I kept saying, what procedure is this? What procedure is this? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to a community of women that are not even criminals? We're not even criminals, and we, we shouldn't even be here. I shouldn't be here. I'm not, certainly not, no, criminal, and I did not deserve that kind of treatment. And and then you put me through having somebody come in to tell me, women coming in the cell, to threaten me about my son. It was enough that I told you that I was pregnant on the bus, and when you tased me, and he was, a Joe Biden looking type of old man. You're too old to even be on the police force, in the first place. You got to prove your manhood this way by shooting a church girl up on the bus, with a taser gun. I didn't even know what kind of gun it was, because this gun had a blue light, and I was pulling these silver things off of me. Anybody know what kind of, anyway, so, and then they take me to the hospital, and from that, but before that, I'm going to tell you how obnoxious, and a peace disturbance this man was to even get on the bus. Most people know bus rides are quiet. People have hard life, stressful jobs and different things going on. You just want to be just relax and have a nice ride on the bus. And he gets on the bus, disturbs us all, and the whole bus was saying, leave her alone, leave her alone, why are you messing with her, leave her alone. And this fool stops the bus, tells everybody, You know, he's loud, he's screaming, he's yelling, you know, get off the bus or you're gonna get arrested for trespassing. You're gonna get arrested for trespassing. I said, I have every right to ride this bus. I said, like a broken record. I paid my fare. I paid my fare. And he was acting like he was going to shoot the little black guy that was trying to help me, you know, because he was just saying, leave her alone, leave her alone. And I thought he was literally going to shoot this man. He turned around to him, you know, had his hand on his gun and was just yelling and screaming and cussing the man out. And then while I was sitting on the floor, they tased me something terrible, and I said, I'm pregnant, and he said, oh, well, we'll see about that, and tased me again. I was tased about 5 times, and then from that, my eyes closed. They took a picture of me, which became my mug shot in TGK, in the correction for jail, and before they took me to jail, they took me to the hospital, and again they put me on these beds with these handcuffs, from my arms all the way down to my legs, and that's uncaused for. That's you know, mental abuse, that's physical abuse, and that's institutional abuse. And I kept telling them I have every right to refuse treatment in this hospital. You know, they took away my rights to even refuse treatment in the hospital, and then they sent me on to jail like I had committed a serious crime by just riding the bus. You know, and then they announced your name again, King Jordan Mitchell, King Mitchell, King Jordan, King Mitchell, and then they sent a little white chick into the cell lady in there, and she you know, dressed in the orange too, you know, and she tells me it's time to kidnap. And she said it about 3 times, and I said, I ignored her the first time, but after the 3rd time she said, I said, who are you going to kidnap? And she said, Jaden. And that's my son's middle name. That's Titus' middle name. Everybody knows that. And I said, Will Smith's son's name is Jaden too. I said, what Jaden are you going to kidnap? She said, they're going to put him in a Jordan River. And I said, well, the Nile River is for you. The Nile that you with the child molester organization. You know, because, you know, that fool that arrested me in South Beach, you know, everybody heard me saying, you a child molester. You a child molester. And the police report read, get this, everyone, that was there to witness this. The police report read that I said that he was a baby rapist. Now, I never said that he was a baby rapist. The whole crowd of people in South Beach heard me say child molester, and I said that like a broken record, because they said that they had you know, first of all, everybody in South Beach was shouting out, giving shouts out, and they were saying things, you know, just out having a good time, giving shout outs. I mean, there was people, my people was out there with bullhorns and, you know, just having so much fun and having a good time. And they had the nerve to tell me, and everybody know that I'm a spoken word artist, and, you know, and I'm standing there, and they had the nerve to have a police report. Well, you got arrested because you walked up on the crowd and said something. excuse me, everybody, the whole crowd was out saying stuff, so, and I have freedom of speech, like everybody else, so you don't take away my right to say that. But the moment, I walked around the corner and I went to one of the restaurants before I even got to Fat Tuesdays, and I'm carrying, my luggage, and I'm just sitting. I sat down, and there was a big, huge black guy, um, that told me that I had to get up. You can't sit here. Nice, attractive young woman. I told him most men would love for me to sit down, but pull out their chair for me. You ugly fag. I thought, why would you even treat me this way? So I got up like he told me to, and then I said, how do you know that I didn't used to work here? How do you know? What right do you give me to tell me that I can't sit here? And he squeezed my hand. He grabbed my hand and squeezed my hand so hard that he was literally crushing my hand. And so, I left. And everybody saw that, everybody saw that. And I left and I was walking to Fat Tuesdays. And, you know, um, the moment that I said, um, actually before I got around the corner, I looked at a green building and I said, Chris Brown is green. Woo! Because when I was in Dallas, Texas, I was on a college campus, and a white bald man said, and I was in green scrubs, and a white bald cop came out and said, in his walkie-talkie, Chris Brown is green. And, I know what that means. That was a serious threat. It came across to me that he was jailing women and telling them that he's going to turn them into Chris Brown, or you see somebody, like me, and you want to Trey Songz them, or you see somebody, your sick Chris Brown fantasy, tighten the play up, because I, advocate for abused women and children. Even before I was, in this, as I ministered to a lot of abused people, and I didn't deserve that. My child, when Dallas police were standing outside when I was in Texas, and they had a convention around the 4th of July, because I went to Megan Thomas up to check on my son, and here it is, the 4th of July, and my son's teeth was knocked out. Now, when he got in the system, he was Snaggletooth, 6 years old, little Snaggletooth boy. Cute. Mommy, proud of you, because, I carried his little teeth around with me everywhere I went. And I was so proud of him and how cute he was. And they kept him in the system until his tooth grew back. And on the 4th of July, when I went up there, his tooth, Oprah, was judges. His tooth was literally broken off, and I said, what happened to you? And she had the nerve to say, stop badgering him. I said, excuse me, this is my son. You have to explain to me why his teeth is broken. And she said, and he said, I was playing football. And I could tell by the way he said it that my child was lying. And that they had made him say that. And you sent security guards on me. What I have in common with Trayvon is that they are always sending these security guards on me. I don't even know half the time if they even real security guards, real policemen, because they not behaving like the oath that they took. And so for this woman to tell me that I could not even inquire about my son and what all he had been through, they had me escorted out of the CPS office, and so I left there, and when I saw the police, they was just kind of crowded around in front of the stadium, and I just started screaming and yelling, and I was telling them, look, my son's teeth was knocked out, and I need somebody to do something about this. And instead of them going to get them, the mad man, the mad woman, whoever did this to my son, and the caseworker that let it happen, they put me in cuffs. And this is why I say I don't want they policemen, I don't want they caseworkers to ever help me. They can't come to my aid. I aid and help people that have gone through the system unlawfully and have done it for too long to have you put me in that position. And so I am unlawfully in an insane asylum. Nothing wrong with a mother, but there's something wrong with you mentally, huh? For you to be a child molester and a defender of them, and so you domestic violence women all the time. Some cops and police, they wives can't even come home, because of what they do. They children are afraid of you, and so especially when you got my son in a situation where this is just an injustice to him and to us, and you don't deserve it, son. You don't deserve it, Tiger. And I just cannot believe that your mama, Tahani Jediah Wade, people known as Shirley Jean Wade, you can't call me Shirley Jane Wade and not think that I don't have a problem with it. I'm not Jane, but because of my cousin Gabriella Union Wade was Mary Jane. You don't flatter us, by calling me that in a jail cell, and then mistreat me and not call the news and put a bag over my head, a mask over my head, and put me in restraints. And then when I called in the jail cell, they set me in front of a man that called himself a psychologist. He's in the lab coat too. I said, I need to call and check on my son. They had me in a chair with a handcuff cuffed to the chair in his office, and he said, no, you can't use our phones. I said, well, I didn't get a phone call anyway, and y'all was wrong for that, and he just refused to let me use the phone to check on my son, even though I told him what this stupid girl sent them in to tell me, into the cell to tell me about he gonna put Jaden in the Jordan River, and we can get the bad boys on it. So That's why I said Will Smith's son was name was Jada too, and their name means God has heard. That's why I named him that. But I'm sitting there in his office, and you had the audacity to tell me that I could not use the phone, even after I told you that I could not, handle what what they told me, this threat against me, against my child, talking about throwing him in the Jordan River. It's time to kidnap. So I grabbed the phone off his desk anyway and started dialing the phone. And that's when the same officer that told me you in here because of a housing program came in and started punching me, and about 5 or 6 female officers came in and they were punching me and kicking me while I was still in restraints in the chair, being handcuffed. And so that's a really really ugly thing. Not their officers, not their policemen. We can't have it, people. Only for Tiger only. Those that are for Tiger only people, because we don't take no kind of abuse.